What's up, everybody? It is your boy, Uncle Greg, here with our first live stream episode. It will be pre recorded so I can edit it and do a bunch of cool stuff, but you're getting a live episode. And with this live episode, I do want to try and send out a phone number for listeners and watchers or viewers to call and interact, have some questions, debate, talk. That's what we're here for. But before we get to that, we're talking about this NFL season. It's kind of have my main focus. And let's get into this top 10. Let's get to the window. All right. So let's close this. As you can see, for the 10th seed, we have the San Francisco 49ers. I have kept them in the top 10 because I feel like they've been playing pretty impressive throughout this season. Yes, they caught the L, but I feel like losing to a team in the top 10, you're going to hear me say that a couple times, it's going to not penalize you as much as if you're losing to a team outside the top 10. So, San Francisco, number 10. At number 9, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also caught the L, moving down 3 spots. Now, the tough part is around 7 to like 15. All those teams can be kind of like interly changed through 1 week they're hot, 1 week they're not. So I wouldn't take these 7 through 10 that drastically, but you can. Jacksonville Jaguars are number 9, even though they lost. Still believe they're a top 10 team. Following that, another team that's lost, but slides down to only 8. So Buffalo, yes, they lost to a division rival and they lost on a primetime game. When you play these primetime games, I've noticed weird trends where teams that we think are going to win, they don't. And that's why I'm not grading these Buffalo Bills too harshly on that. I still think they're one of the best teams in the league, but having 2 losses in a row, you can heavily debate that. So, Buffalo Bills, yes, I get it. You've been playing well, but you got to step it up because you will be sliding out that top 10 if you continue to lose. Next up, the New England Patriots hopping in that top 10. Now, yes, they lost to the Raiders early on. I think they had another loss. They only have 2 losses, but ever since then, in these games that they've been playing, they look like a team that's rolling. The defense is fine. The highly expensive defense. I think they spent like close to 100 plus mil in the offseason for the defense. They're starting to get things rolling. Drake May's looking really solid. So the New England Patriots looking like a top 10 team again, which a lot of people don't want to see, but they're here. Next up, another team sliding down the top 5. Detroit Lions. What happened to them? I don't know. But playing KC, KC looks like they're that team again, coming back around after a sloppy start. Detroit Lions, we'll see if they can stay above the top 10. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, he has faced the least amount of pressures, which I believe he's getting the ball out quick. He doesn't want to get hit, which is totally understood. The defense is coming around. It's really hard for defenses to get going early on. I think offenses know where they're going to be, and it's easier for offenses to click early. Defenses need to get some time and cohesion together, and it looks like that Pittsburgh defense is getting that time together. At number 5. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks. They keep on winning, keep on moving up. Sam Darnold looking really impressive. I believe the Seattle Seahawks are, let's see, I got some notes on them. Sam Darnold has compiled an 18-5 record as a starter since 2024. Only Jared Goff, 19 entering week 6 of Sunday Night Football, has more than Sam Darnold in this time frame. The Seahawks have won 9 consecutive road games dating back to week 7 of 2024 at Atlanta. This marks the longest road win streak by any team since 2021-2022 Eagles, also 9 straight, and stands as the longest road winning streak in Seattle franchise history. So right now, Seattle, they're doing it. Give them props. Next up, the Green Bay Packers. They won soundly. Of course, when you win and teams that are in the top 5 lose, you're going to move up. So Green Bay, who I had early on as the top seed, or the number 1 seed in the NFL, slowly but surely climbing back up. Following that, the Indianapolis Colts keep on winning, that's for sure, behind Daniel Jones. Also, the Colts have punted just 10 times through 6 games this season, including 3 punts in week 6. Tied for the fewest by any team through the first 6 games of a season since 1950. So this offense is really getting on a historic roll, something that we haven't seen since the 1950s. It's pretty insane to me. The 2021 Chiefs were the other team to punt 10 times through first 6 games. The Colts are 5-1 and remain the number 1 seed in the AFC with a perfect record of 4-0 in conference play. So right now, with all that being said, Colts number 2. And the team at number 1 and remaining at number 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay remains at the top after catching a dub this week. Let's see the notes I got from Emeka Egbuka is just the 3rd player in Super Bowl era to record 425 plus receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns in their first 5 career games played. The only 2 to do it before were Jamar Chase in 2021 and Randy Moss in 1998, who both won Offensive Rookie that season. So I think this is a foreshadowing of who may win Offensive Rookie this season. That may be Emeka Egbuka of Tampa Bay. So this rounds up my picks for the top 10 after 6 weeks. You guys let me know. I will open the phone lines pretty soon. You guys can make a call, tell me where I'm tripping, where I'm wrong. That's what we do here. We listen, we talk. Man, I should have grabbed some water. But this is the first live stream, and I just didn't plan this thing out accordingly. I took a few takes, but it's all good. That's what happens when we're live. All the pre-recorded takes are easy because you can edit and cut and paste. But I wanted to try live, and we're late, so I'm not really expecting too much. But we'll see what happens. All right. So after that, some league notes to share with you guys that I thought were a little interesting. Miami, with the week 6 loss, are now 1-15 in their last 16 games, entering matchups where the team has a winning record, losing 9 straight. Second longest streak next to Carolina, who has 13. So Miami, need to figure it out, bro. LA Chargers, Herbert has now orchestrated 18 game-winning drives in fourth quarter overtime in his career, tied second most all-time quarterbacks in the NFL in 2020. Only Patrick Mahomes has more game-winning drives during that span with 19. The Cleveland Browns scored a season-low 9 points in Week 6 at Pittsburgh, failing to score a touchdown for the first time this season. The Cleveland Browns have failed to score 18-plus in 11 straight games, the longest such streak in Browns franchise history. This offensive drought ranks as the second longest in NFL since 2000, trailing the Cardinals, who went 13 straight games without reaching 18 points in 2000-2001. So, offensively, this Cleveland Browns not looking good at all. Historically, one of the worst that Cleveland has ever seen. Following that, we have Drake May, who became the 4th player at age 23 or younger since 1970 to record at least 5 consecutive games with 200-plus passing yards and 100-plus passer rating. Right when I tell you Drake May was heating up, I wasn't lying. Dallas Cowboys are the 6th team in NFL history to score 175-plus points with no more than 2 wins in their first 6 games of a season. 2016 New Orleans, 2012 New Orleans, 1985 Cincinnati, 1961 Boston, and 1961 Houston are the other teams that they're accompanied by. So the Cowboys putting up amazing stats, but they need to get some W's. That's for sure. Arizona Cardinals have lost 4 straight games starting the season after starting the season 2-0. All 4 losses were by 4 points or fewer, so it's not like they're getting blown out. They are in these matchups, but just not happen to get it. The Cardinals allowed 14 points in the fourth quarter in Week 6 loss to the Colts after leading 24-17. And Arizona has a minus 36-point margin in the fourth quarter in 2024, which marks them the worst in the league. Not good. Probably the numbers you don't want to see. Baltimore Ravens right now, their 1-5 record is tied for their worst 6-game start in franchise history. Baltimore also started 1-5 in 2015, ultimately finishing with a 5-11 record and missing the playoffs. Since 1990, only 3 teams have reached the postseason after beginning 1-5. The 2020 Washington Football Team, 2018 Indianapolis Colts, and 2015 Kansas City Chiefs. So the Baltimore Ravens right now, playoff hopes not looking that good. Let's see what other notes I got. Chicago's Rome Odunze is the first Bears player to score any type of touchdown in each of the team's first 4 games of a season since Hall of Famer Walter Payton in 1986 scored in first 6 games. Odunze is the only player in the NFL in 2025 to score a scrimmage touchdown in every game so far. So maybe a challenge to Tampa Bay's Rookie of the Year, Rome Odunze. I don't know. No, I don't think he's a rookie. I think this might be his second year, to be honest. Might be. Next up, let's see. Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes leads the Chiefs with 190 rushing yards in 2025, the most rushing yards through 5 games in his career. Mahomes is one of 2 QBs who are leading their team in rushing yards in 2025. The other is Kyler Murray. They probably need to get their running backs involved. I don't know what they're doing, getting Mahomes running around like he's just some worthless piece of meat who can get. They can take that injury. If he gets hurt, bro, I don't know what Kansas City's doing. They need to run that ball with their running backs. They got a plethora of them. I don't know what they're doing. I guess when he scrambles, he's got to run, but get some better run game going. Ashton Genty from the Las Vegas Raiders has at least 100 yards from scrimmage in his last 2 games. Apologies, my mouth is a little dry. Genty did not have more than 70 scrimmage yards in the first 3 weeks, so he's obviously picking the holes, finding them. Maybe the offensive line playing a little better. We definitely know it's not Geno Smith, that's for sure. Christian McCaffrey is averaging a career high 77.4 receiving yards per game in 2025. That is the most by a running back in a season over the last 40 seasons, surpassing Marshall Faulk's 65.5 in 1999 of a minimum of 5 games played. So Christian McCaffrey, as injury prone as he's been, still rolling, carrying the team. And that's all the notes I have for that. Let's talk about some stats for week 6. Let's talk about the defense, huh? Defense. Atlanta allowing right now the least amount of yards per game with 253. Atlanta? Who would have thought? Houston allowing the fewest amount of points per game with 12. Houston? Just some weird stats, right? Green Bay allowing the fewest amount of rushing yards per game with 73. That seems understandable. I feel like their defense is pretty legit. Atlanta's allowing the least amount of passing yard games with 139.4. Sounds about right when you're allowing the least amount of yards per game. Seattle leads the league in QB pressures with 106. Denver is with the highest pressure rate on QBs with a 46% of snaps pressuring the QB. We got Denver with the least amount of TDs given up with 6. Denver's defense. Baltimore allowing the most. You don't want to these rests. You don't want to be hearing your team's name. Baltimore allowing the most amount of touchdowns with 23. Baltimore also allowing the most points per game with 32.3. That Baltimore defense, if you're not able to score on them, then your offense is probably pretty bad. Dallas is allowing the league worst 411.7 yards per game. Although they're having a highly productive offense, their defense really isn't helping them. Chicago's giving up the most yards per play with 6.5 per play. And then Miami allowing 32 10-plus yards. That is worse than the league. So those are some team defensive stats. Let's give you some team offensive stats that people just may not know. I just felt like I said, were interesting, just like my week 6 notes. Dallas leads the league with the yards per game with 387 and a half. Seattle leads yards per play with 6.3. Detroit has the most touchdowns in the league with 23. San Francisco leads with 291.5 yards passing per game. Atlanta leads the league in rushing with 151.2 yards on the ground. That's impressive. For a passing league, these guys are getting done on the ground. It's much respect. Let's see. Pittsburgh offense has allowed the least amount of pressures on the QB, like I mentioned earlier, with 44. I think that has to do with Aaron Rodgers getting rid of the ball quick. Denver has the league leading QB pressure rate, seeing pressure on at least 23.3% of snaps. Indianapolis, my bad, has allowed the least amount of sacks on the QB with 5. So, Daniel Jones, that Indianapolis line, Indianapolis, we'll see what's up with them. San Francisco leading in yards after catch with 870. It tells me that they're getting a lot of like quick passes off. These fools are running. I think that's Shanahan's scheme. So Washington leads rushing yards per play with 5.5. Rookie Crockett, I can't even remember. He's got like a 3-syllable name, but he's been doing right. He's been doing right. Baltimore leads the league in 10 plus yards run, 10 plus yard runs with 25. So although their defense has been trash, they can't seem to get much going with their passing game. Their rushing still on point. Tennessee, from here on out, you don't want to hear your team. Tennessee has the worst yards per game with 232.3 per game. Tennessee has the worst yards per play with 3.9. So, that just seems to go inside together. Cincinnati has the least amount of rushing yards per game with 56.7. And last but not least, the New York Jets are giving up the most QB pressures with 114. Their quarterbacks are seeing pressure on 51% of the snaps. Yikes. All right. So those are just some notes, some stuff when I was doing some homework, watching film, going over some insights. Got my information from pro.nfl.com, but just some stuff that they had written and I thought was cool enough to share. But now let's get into these week 7 picks. So for Thursday night football, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know Cincinnati just got Joe Flacco from the Cleveland Browns. I don't think that's going to make a difference. I think Pittsburgh's been rolling. Aaron Rodgers getting rid of the ball quick. They're not allowing a lot of pressures on him, which is good for an old quarterback. So I think, although I said they acquired a better quarterback than Jake Browning, it's not going to help. I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be able to lock them down, so much so that I'm also taking Pittsburgh minus 5.5. So for the Thursday night pick, Pittsburgh Steelers, then also the minus 5.5. That's for my Thursday night pick. Let's go for the rest of picks, and these ones we're gonna just shoot out. Pow, 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 pow. So next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Pick going Kansas City. They're on the up and up. The Raiders, that's my team, and they're floundering. They're just like, so I don't know what they're doing right now. But we're going to take the 12 points that they're giving us. I think the Raiders will keep the game competitive. They always play the Chiefs pretty damn good, but not enough to win. KC with the pick, if you're taking money line, if you want to take the spread, Las Vegas plus 12. Next up, we got the LA Rams taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I got in the pick the LA Rams getting this W. I do have Jacksonville in my top 10, but it just happens to be by circumstance. I think the LA Rams might be a better team than them, but we'll see what happens. That's why I got the pick right here. And then with the spread, I'm taking that -3 of the LA Rams. It's just, I feel like they're gonna. That defense is going to show up. I know their DBs have been a little exposed, and their defensive line actually got a little exposed last week. But I think they're going to look for a bounce back game against Jacksonville. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Chicago Bears. I feel like Chicago's just a better team, just better said. New Orleans Saints think they're going to be top in the NFL draft, like getting the first pick. So New Orleans Saints, we're not picking them here. We're going with the Chicago pick, and then we're also taking those Chicago -5.5. I think Caleb Williams and the coach Ben Johnson are actually starting to click. Offense is looking a lot better. Swift actually I had him in fantasy. He actually gave me like 20 some points on the bench. Idiot. Just is what it is. Make those mistakes. But for this pick, Chicago and Chicago -5.5. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Cleveland Browns. Now, I've been fading Miami a lot, and I think I've won only a couple. Um, but I'm going to fade them right here. The Cleveland Browns, I feel like their defense is top notch, and it's not going to allow Tua to get really much anything off. So Cleveland with the pick and Cleveland -3 because I think regardless of their offense being pedestrian, I think they're going to be able to put up more points than Miami will. So next up, we have the New England Patriots taking on the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel visiting his old team. I do believe New England is on a roll, and they're going to continue to roll and become a 5-2 team. Where the Tennessee Titans are a bunch of young dudes. Their quarterback Cam Ward, he's very athletic, but he doesn't even really rely on that. He's a good passer, but they need a squad. They need a squad around him. Not ready to win. New England gets this win, and the -7 points. It's a lot of points. I really don't like eating a lot of points like that. But I feel like New England is just a better overall team. So take those -7 points. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I'm really not impressed how Philly's been playing as of late, but I really don't like Minnesota either. So this was a weird pick for me. I think Minnesota might be getting their quarterback back, who was hurt. I can but yeah, I don't think they're gonna be able to get that win. I think Philadelphia is looking for a bounce back win. Their defense has been a little exposed. Um, they need to get the game going, the ground game going with Barkley. They need to get the passing game going. I don't know what's going on with these Eagles. They've been like squeaking by on these wins. They need to get a little more impressive. They need a little more dominating. So hopefully they can do that against Minnesota this week. Because I do got them in a pick, and I also will take Philadelphia -2. Next up, Carolina taking on the New York Jets. Man, we just got some bad matchups this week as far as terrible teams going against each other, and you don't know what's going to happen. But I do feel like Carolina has been a little more impressive than New York Jets. I don't think the New York Jets have even got a win this season, and I don't think they're going to get it this Sunday. So I got Carolina with the pick and Carolina -2. Following that, we have the New York Giants taking on the Denver Broncos. Now, the New York Giants with Jackson Dart, they're a little confusing because they play like juggernauts at home, and so you think they're going to take that same type of mojo on the road. No, they lost to the Saints in like embarrassing fashion. So now they're on the road to Denver, which I believe Denver's a pretty good team. I don't have them in my top 10 because I don't really like Bo Nix, but that defense is solid and keeps them pretty much around in most games. So with this matchup, I do believe Denver's defense to be too much for the rookie to handle. I'm taking Denver with a pick, and they're telling you that it's going to be a little too much for the rookie to handle because it's Denver -7, and I'm also taking that. I'm swallowing those points. I'm doing a lot of favorites this week. Let's see what happens because underdogs, I feel like when I take them, I feel like I've been flip flopping. Like anytime the favorites have been hot, I've taken the underdogs, and every time the underdogs have been hot, I've been taking the favorites. So one day, one week, I'm gonna catch that frequency, and I'm gonna be riding that shit. But for now, I'm trying to fucking find it. Next up, we got Indianapolis Colts taking on the LA Chargers. All right, we got a good matchup this week. And I feel like Indianapolis with Daniel Jones just rolling, Jonathan Taylor, he's been getting in the action in the last few weeks. So I think with that being said, they're going to keep on rolling. The Chargers have been getting a lot of injuries on their offensive line, having trouble keeping Herbert not seeing pressure like they were keeping him protected early in the first few weeks. I think Indy's going to get this dub, and I'm also taking Indy plus 1.5. I don't know why they're not favored. They're the better team, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders taking on the Dallas Cowboys. We got a division rivalry, so in this matchup, you don't know what's going to happen. It's really hard to predict these because these teams see each other a lot. They know their tendencies, uh, but I don't like the Dallas Cowboys defense. Their defense, I don't think could stop anybody. So we're picking the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels. Hopefully Debo can do something because he didn't do nothing last week for my fantasy squad. It actually cost me the L. And DeAndre Swift was on the bench getting a bunch of points. I can't believe that. I was heat. But anyways, let's keep it focused on these picks. Next up, we got I think I said Washington and Washington -2. My bad if I didn't say the spread. But next up, Green Bay taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Green Bay Packers started off hot, kind of like had a couple losses or lost in a bye, and came back on a win. So I think they're a better team than Arizona. Arizona, I think, has Jacoby Brissett, who didn't play too bad, who almost led the Cardinals to a W, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that against this Green Bay defense. I do believe Green Bay's defense is going to be able to catch up on his tendencies and make him feel pressured. Um, with this pick, I got Green Bay and Green Bay -6.5. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the San Francisco 49ers. So they have the Niners right now, -2. That's the spread right now, and I'm going to take that. I'm also going to take San Francisco with the pick. Atlanta had an impressive win last week against the Buffalo Bills. Like, really impressive. But I think that's going to get them a little too high. They're going to not prepare as much as for this matchup as they should. And I think San Francisco, who I feel is a pretty well-rounded team, is going to be able to get this W and take those -2 points. Last couple matchups, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Detroit Lions. Now, this is probably one of the best offensive matchups going on. I do have Baker Mayfield getting the W. There's probably going to be a lot of points. I'm not too sure what the over is, but I would take it if it's at around 50, 45 for sure. Taking that over if it's around there. Tampa Bay getting the W, and Tampa Bay is not favored. They're giving him plus 5.5 points. Baker Mayfield, that dog, they're giving him 5.5 points before the snap. I'm taking that. I'm taking those points, and I'm taking Baker. Last but not least, we have the Houston Texans taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking Seattle with the pick, and I'm taking Seattle -3.5. Just think they're the better overall team. And that's it for my picks. That's it for my picks on week 7. So we'll see how I finish. After 6 weeks right now, in my money lines, aka just straight picks, I'm 59, 32, and 1. In the spreads, this is where I can do a lot of work, but it's kind of my first year actually focusing on the spreads and trying to pick them out through the whole league, not just games that I feel like I can call. I want to test my skills throughout the whole league, not just my specifics. So when you see this record, just know that's what it's from. You know what I'm saying? With the spreads, 27, 45, and 1. Not good. Not good. Week 6, I went 8-7 with the picks, 6-9 with the spreads. So hopefully I can improve on that. I know I can, and I will. But now, let's see. We got nobody in. Nobody's here to take calls. It's all good. Let's throw it up just in case. You never know. Let's see. We gotta get to the intermission. All right. Well, you can take a look at that. We can get this phone line cracking. Boom. So if you want to reach out, hit me up. Hit the phone line. We can talk. I'll post up. Wait a minute. calls. And if you don't, what can I do? What can I do? Just offer an opportunity to say what's up, talk about some sports. You know, all I can do is try. All I can do is try. Let's see if anybody's on Twitter. On the Twitter. It is, whoa, hold on. Relax, dude. Let's see. No views here. Alright, well, it just is what it is. I probably should just do a live stream during the day. Probably when people are awake. What's up, Pyros? If you want to give a call, we're taking calls on my rankings. You can see right there. I got my picks. I can share with my notes, I guess. But yeah, what's up? We chilling. We talking to people. Let's see. What about that Dodger game? You guys watching some baseball? That was pretty fun. Love being up 2-0 in Milwaukee. You guys ready for some basketball? I sure am. See how the Lakers look with Luca, LeBron. I know LeBron's gonna be sitting out for the first. Well, I think like they said like 3 weeks they're gonna reevaluate him. So we'll see what happens after that. All right, we got a few more minutes to see if anybody is live. Let's see. That looks good to me. Oh wait, one more minute, and then I'm out of here. But yeah, this live was a definitely intriguing, interesting little go around. Definitely should make sure I have water. My mouth right now is dry as fuck. Should probably take some breathing exercises before I start. Might center me. Let me focus a little better. But yeah, these are my picks. These are my top 10 after 6 weeks. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, chat. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments where I'm wrong, where I'm right. Get down this phone number. Shoot that phone line.